That's what we like. Welcome to this lunchtime session of our virtual showcase, all about networking and how to make the most of this strange world of digital networking that we find ourselves in. This session is a little bit of a hybrid one for us here. So you will notice we are doing some live streaming right now. We are simply live streaming our talk to YouTube so we can make an instant video. I'm joined today by friend of Find a Cure, Tarquin Bennett-Coles, who's going to give us a lovely insight into the world of digital networking. So I met Tarquin by accident, hilariously, a number of years ago when he came for a meeting with Nick, Find a Cure's founder, and Nick, by some freak accident, wasn't in the office. And Tarquin ended up in a meeting with me for an hour and a half talking about Find a Cure. And ever since then, he's been supporting us on and off in lots of different ways, in particular for running a half marathon for us, but being involved in a whole range of different events that we've been working on, which has been fantastic, and we really appreciate his time and effort. Tarquin is giving this talk for two reasons. Firstly, because he proposed it as a lightning talk when he signed up for the showcase right at the start, and we thought this is an interesting topic that people might like to see quite broadly, so we should make it available in a nice gap in the program at lunchtime. And secondly, because networking really is what Tarquin does. It is his job. He goes out there and works in the field of kind of executive recruitment for life sciences, and in that field you have to go out, make connections and talk to people. And so I'm sure he has been foraging extensively in the digital world of networking over the last year, and we'll have some helpful tips to share. So welcome, Tarquin. Thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing what you've got to say. Before that, I should just briefly mention questions, guys. While Tarquin's talking, if you've got any questions that are burning, please do drop them into the chat, and we'll bring those in after Tarquin's finished. And after the talk is done, please use the raise hand function, which you'll all find on your participant panel in Zoom, and we'll try and bring you in and get you interacting during the session afterwards. So that's me done. Pretty much Rick done for a while now. Time for Tarquin. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Great introduction. And I love the fact, and you've raised how we first met, which is kind of inadvertent networking, I think. But it just shows that 6, 7 years on, maybe even 8 years on, how those connections can run and run. So part of what I will talk through today, many of you will know, it's not a surprise that it follows a similar format to face-to-face, but I'm really missing face-to-face contact. It's something I really enjoy, and it's something that, as Rick said, has been part of my world for a long time. I was a teacher by training many years ago, and then stumbled into recruitment like a lot of people. And here I am now, in front of you all. And I'm really delighted. I should just say, part of the reason I wanted to do this for Find a Cure is it's a privilege to be supportive of the organization, and actually what you all do in terms of raising awareness for your diseases, patient groups, patient advocacy, contacts, the ability to create connections and extend the network is absolutely crucial. And I know, today I hope many of you will come away with new understandings of the way things are done in different places, some things best case scenarios, some ways of working. And hopefully with this, there'll be a few things that you can take away that will work. First thing I'd say is, I don't know if anyone else has felt this, that with networking, digital networking, we do things differently. So we kind of wave. I wouldn't normally do that at the beginning of a conversation. We put up fingers to say yes. I haven't done that for about 20 years, but it's lovely to be here, and I'll just shoot straight in, go on some of the background about what I think this is about, and then give you a bit more information. So the pictures to start with, most people go into networking, particularly face-to-face, with either horror, hence the picture there on the left or right, depending where you're viewing, or gloves up, ready to take on the world. So I would say today and over the next few days, you've got lots of opportunities to network. This is your chance to enjoy it. So you've got direct messages, one-to-one meetings set up, speed networking opportunities. I think there's 2 of those. There's a discussion board in the background, and use this as an opportunity to build those connections. And what I always say with networking, it's about preparation. So if you see people who you recognize and you think, I'd like to begin a conversation with them, look them up on social media, LinkedIn, look up their profiles, their backgrounds, maybe send them a message. It doesn't have to be at the time. And the key thing is to take the pressure off yourself. It's okay if you don't get X number of cards, or you don't sit down with 2 or 3 people you really need to. You know, things come up, people's engagements change. Today, someone may need to go off and have lunch. Perfectly understandable. It's lunchtime. So don't worry about some of those things. But if you do the preparation, you'll hopefully be able to identify some of the people you want to talk to, what that might be about, and then be able to craft something from there. So preparation's crucial. Delegate lists, lists of names, all of that's helpful. Next one's obvious, but camera, lighting, sound, all very important. I'm lucky, I'm using just a laptop here. It's got a very good camera and a good sound system, so I can go live like this. I know other people, Rick, great example there with the headset, but you can use what works for you. But do think about that. One of the things I've done is turn this off and turn off any connection to Wi-Fi in the house from other systems. Earlier in the summer, and some of you may have felt this, I had 2 children working in the background, and when they were online, meant to be schooling, I think sometimes they sneaked into other platforms, I struggle with some of my Zoom meetings. They cut out and so on. So we realized A, we needed a booster, and B, we had to make sure that things that didn't need to be connected were cut off. The other thing that fits into is interruptions and privacy. Do not worry. There are going to be interruptions. It's part of the world we're in at the moment. You know, whether it's Sky News reports or anything else, there are children will come in, dogs barking. There'll be the delivery of something and the doorbell going when you don't expect it. There may well be a very large van outside that decides to dig up the road outside your house when you're on a call. Do not worry, and just tell people that there may be interruptions. I've got X people in the house as well. There is a dog next door, I should warn you now. It's young. Occasionally it decides to bark, and it tends to bark just at the point where I want quiet. So if you hear a bark, don't panic. The other thing that fits in that is the appearance. You will notice in the background, neatly hung in the background, is my Find a Cure T-shirt from the half marathon I did a few years ago. But what image do you want to create? You may want to go low key because the people you're meeting with will be the same. You may want to dress it up. In some cases, you may even want to put a shirt and tie on. So just give that some thought in advance, particularly who you're meeting with. And if you're dealing with someone in the corporate world, and it might be related to clinical studies or some sort of deal, you might think, actually, you know what, in this occasion, I'm going to change the corporate background, maybe mute things in the background and have a different look. So give that some thought. And then, as Rick perfectly illustrated earlier, the mute button. This is the key to all fun on Zoom and team calls. Just be aware before you ask that question, am I on mute? And indeed, am I on mute when I'm just sneaking off and turning off the camera to make a cup of tea and putting that on in the background? So just be aware of that. I've had a lot of fun over the last 6 months with mute buttons being left on or left off inappropriately. In fact, you may have seen some stuff in the press at the weekend about a certain ex-prime minister forgetting to turn off his mic and phone when he was rearranging his bookshelf, no less. What do you do on your call? So here we are now, we're on the call. The first one is agility. Just be prepared that it might be different from what you're used to. If you're in an audience and you meet someone afterwards, you can go off, have a cup of tea, have a chat, and just have a discreet conversation. In this sort of environment, it feels slightly restricted. So it's okay to stand up. It's okay to walk around. It might be okay to say, I hope you don't mind, but the doorbell has gone for the 3rd time. I really need to get that. Is that okay? So be prepared. Next one is time. And this is something I've noticed as the world of sort of networking's changed. We are having to move from a work environment, an office environment for many of us, to a home office. And what that means is the lines between virtual and reality of kind of shifting between home and life. It's always worth asking, look, how long do you have? People will sometimes book out an hour for a Zoom, but actually only have half an hour or 45 minutes. To double check who it is you're talking with. Do you actually have that time? Can I be clear on that? Always better to know up front. And what nicely follows from that is, if you know the time and the object and you've done your preparation about the call, are you going to do your big elevator pitch? Are you ready for your speed networking that I know Rick's got in store for you, where you're going to have your 30-second pitch about what you do, what you're trying to get across, the messages you're trying to represent for the patient group you're involved with, and so on. But also you might want to say, you know what, and I heard this from a VC lady recently, and it was great. She said she's so tired of the formality of it. She will say, can we just have a coffee chat now? And then literally out will come the coffee, and the conversation will become much more relaxed. It's okay to, segue into a warmer discussion rather than being caught in the confines of this, rather compressed space. The other thing to remember, thankfully not the case at the showcase, but it is the case at many conferences and things, of very often people are there to sell their own wares, whatever they might be. And it might be, whether it's industry or similar. So it's always worth being conscious of, if you're trying to give something to them, they may not be open to the question or the conversation at that point, but make the contact anyway, so you can continue that afterwards. That's really important. And I've put the next sort of two parts, and they go together. Make sure you listen to what that person's got to say. You never know what they might say where you can add value. And I know, in the world of not-for-profit, and particularly charities in rare diseases, sometimes hearing what someone else has experienced, been through, or had to deal with can be a massive help in you then articulating what you want to do with that organization, or taking that back to your own organization to share it. So do listen about that. And this enthusiasm is crucial. In all of the networking, it says there's no point if you're going to sit there straight-faced and deliver the message. Try and liven it up. Try and do it with some enthusiasm. What you're representing is serious in itself. We all know that. But actually, the way you get it across, if you can engage with that person and engage in the sense of course, there's going to be emotion involved, but also saying, look, together we can do the right thing. We can make a difference. That can be really powerful. And that fits the last point, sincerity. It's too easy at networking to have, and the image I've got there of the guy doing this, the sort of, I'm here to get something from you, get something out. And actually, if you do have a natural connection, you may well find that it's not just about what you're discussing. It's an interest you have outside of the area. It's a conversation you have later. I noticed Alan Thomas is there from Ataxia. Alan may not remember, but as a Taffy myself, we've discussed Welsh rugby a few times in the past. And similarly with Rick, knowing his family circumstance, if you don't mind me saying, a few years ago, we've kept in touch about family life. You never know where the connections are. And it's lovely when you get that sincere connection that you can continue over time. Okay, and now into the third slide. Are you ready? So this was me on the half marathon, by the way, and that's me waving in the background, a little bit overconfident, I should point out. It didn't quite go as I planned, but there I was giving it that. The last bit is the follow-up, and in a lot of the research they've done on networking, they said the thing that differentiates people is the follow-up. So if you make a promise to send them a note, make a connection, share a contact, please do that. That will really separate you off from the other people they meet at that particular conference or event. Share successes, share connections, and that fits very closely with one of the discussions I had with Rick and Mary Rose a few weeks ago, which is, for Find a Cure, part of their role is helping all of you reach the audience you need to reach. If you do that at one of their events, please let them know. It's a wonderful thing for them to then share, which will, of course, encourage more people to come back, more sharing to continue. So it's easy when you get caught up in the day-to-day to forget to that sort of loop back round. But if you can remember, please do. And then what fits in with that too is just staying in touch. One of the benefits of my job is I'm allowed to stay in touch as part of my job, but I enjoy it, and it's profoundly moving when I meet up with someone several years on who I may not have seen, and we can go back to that conversation we had at a particular event. I think I heard Will Evans was mentioned from Neiman Pick earlier, and I remember meeting him at the World Orphan Drug Congress in Washington, and we kind of bumped into each other, and it's two English speakers here trying to have a conversation. It was just lovely talking about why he was there, what he was trying to achieve. And similarly, I was there in a different capacity, but also representing Find a Cure. And it was lovely to think we've come all this way, halfway across the ocean, and yet we're both here to try and do the same thing. So maybe we can share some contact, share some connections. So with all of that, I'll bring very quickly to the last part, which is, I do love Gary Larson, the far side, is preparation. So back to that main point. If you can prepare for the event, prepare for the people you're going to meet, look forward to it, take the pressure off and enjoy it. Honestly, I think networking can be great fun. And in this virtual world, you can actually do more of it and then use the virtual world future to build those live face-to-face interactions when we can all, fingers crossed, in the near future, get back together.